We want to welcome you to this third breakout session. Our speakers for this session will be Eugene Andres and Dennis Shoutway, who are from the Tri-City Community College in Ohio. Sorry, that's Tri-C Community College in Ohio. And just as a little intro to Eugene and Dennis, these two gentlemen are very respected by their peers at the community college, and they've had so much success in their courses, and so they're very excited to share their experiences with you today. So please join me in welcoming Eugene Andres and Dennis Shoutway.
I want to begin by thanking Ken Sardoni, Alan Escobar, Adam Clark, and especially Kent Mahoney, our account executive, for the support that they've given me in preparing this presentation. I also want to thank all TestOut employees for providing me with such an amazing product to teach with. And to learn with, and to certify with. I used LabSim CCNA back in 2011 to earn my CCNA. I want to thank all TestOut employees for respecting my professional and personal time. Your products are nearly bug-free. And when I do report an anomaly, it is fixed expeditiously with excellent communication and customer service. Where do you find that nowadays? Only with TestOut. Thank you to support.testout.com for answering my phone calls, usually by the fourth ring, and for knowing your product so well at the Tier 1 support level. Thank you to the many students who have been my lab rats with LabSim over the past 9 years. Thank you to the faculty at the IT Center of Excellence at Cuyahoga Community College, Tri-C. In particular, those in the LabSim Teaching Users Group, which I'm going to be showcasing to you today. My hope is that I can convince you to become part of our LabSim Teaching Users Group. It's not just for Tri-C, it's for everybody that teaches with Tri-C, or with LabSim. And that goes far beyond Tri-C. So if you see some benefit to joining us, we would love to have you attend our August meeting, which will be August 23rd, time to be determined. And we would love to welcome you to Cleveland, Ohio. Excuse me. We would roll out the red carpet for you in much the same way that Noel rolled out the red carpet for us here in Utah. But if you can't make it, you can WebEx into our meeting and participate with us. Others at the IT Center of Excellence, up the chain of command, Assistant Dean David Ron, my Manager of Adjunct Services, Sonia Electaby, our Interim Executive Vice President of IT Workforce Initiatives and College-wide Dean of IT, who also happens to be our CIO, Standish Stewart, and our President and CEO, Dr. Alex Johnson, all of whom have been so supportive of me in creating the innovations that you're going to see today. And I want to thank all of you for attending the Experience Conference this year and selecting my session this morning. My presentation is about proven ways to build excitement and engagement around student certifications. We have a lot to cover in 35 minutes, so I provided you with a hard copy handout, which also includes my slide notes. I will measure the success of my presentation by the number of you who initiate ongoing dialogue with me after this presentation, which will jumpstart the conversation between us. Our agenda, we're going to talk a little bit about what we're doing at Tri-C, our boot camp buzz as we call it. We're going to spend about 15 minutes talking about how you can use your learning management system, whether it's Blackboard, Moodle, Bright Minds, Canvas, to engage students. Also, if you would be interested in starting up your own LTUG at your site, We've got that as part of the secret sauce that we will share with you here. And one thing that we started early this year, one of LTUG's activities is a student club across the college, which has the objective of, it's a student self-help group for them to help each other become certified under the umbrella of the faculty in the LTUG group. And lastly, our giveaway is a Sweet Baby J's Secret Cert, as in certification, sauce. And then our Q&A. So starting out, Boot Camp Buzz. Tri-C is located in Cuyahoga County, Ohio, which is the greater Cleveland area. We are the host city of 2019 All-Star Game, as you may have witnessed this week. We are Ohio's oldest and largest community college. We serve 50,000 credit and non-credit students annually, and over the past 58 years, we have served 900,000 community members. Tri-C is a board member of the League for Innovation in the Community College. We offer credit courses at 4 campuses and 1 university center. All credit sections require a Blackboard site, not just the online and the blended sections, but also the on-ground sections. Non-credit courses, we have 3 advanced technology training centers and 2 corporate colleges. The IT Center of Excellence governs all credit and non-credit IT courses at all the locations that I just mentioned. We have 6 centers of excellence that were formed in 2016 from the like departments at 4 campuses and also the non-credit centers and the university center. IT is one of 6 of centers of excellence. There's also creative arts, hospitality management, and 3 others. The reason for the restructuring 3 years ago was to break down silos between credit teaching and non-credit training. That's significant. But also, within the college, since we have 4 credit teaching campuses, there can be a little bit of friendly competition, rivalry between the campuses, and some pride of ownership issues and stuff like that gets in the way of collaboration. So the intent was to break down the silos between the 4 credit teaching campuses, Metropolitan, Eastern, Western, and West Shore, and the University Center. Significant in this past year, in the fall of 2018, our EVP, who presides over the IT Center of Excellence, invited everybody to the monthly faculty and administration meeting. What a concept. So we got to interact with our counterparts on the non-credit side at the other campuses. And it really has had a significant impact on making us much better at collaboration. As it relates to LabSim, we have 7 credit IT faculty who teach with LabSim as the adopted textbook. So we're using PC Pro, Linux Pro, Network Pro, Security Pro, Routing and Switching Pro, Server Pro 2016, and its 3 modules: installation and storage, networking, and identity. We're looking at Ethical Hacker for spring, and also IT fundamentals. Our statistics on page 5 of your handout, it states student certification achievements since September of 2018. That is a typo. If you would correct that to say 2017. We have had 46 TestOut Pro certs, 4 CompTIA Plus certs. With what I'm going to show you today and give you today as our giveaway, with Sweet Baby J's Secret Cert Sauce, one instructor, little old me, has achieved a 72% success rate in Linux Pro certs and skills guarantees. Over the past 3 semesters, 18 of my 25 students have earned their Linux Pro when they took their final exam at the end of the semester. This past spring, I had 6 out of 7 students who certified, so that was like a 86%. And 2 of those 6 students earned a perfect 100% when they took the Linux Pro exam. 2 others earned a 94%. They missed 1 lab question out of 18. So Dennis Shutway is one of my colleagues at Tri-C, And he's also my roommate this week. Would you like to say a few words, Dennis, about your experience teaching with LabSim? And you might want to come up on the podium so that the video can catch you.
I can't, because if I do, we're going to have feedback. So if I stay far away...
I'll turn mine off.
Okay. I've been teaching Cisco for 20 years, and I've got a 20% pass rate, and I thought I was doing good. And I find out he's getting an 80% pass rate, and I said, I got to find out what he's doing. Why is he getting such success? And so I sat in his class, and I attended, and I watched everything that he does. And I find that he lets the students take control. And I have an aversion to that. I want to be in control. I want to be in charge of the pace, the time, the clock, and everything like that. He just says, here, you come on up, and now do this one lab. And that student comes up and leads it and takes as much time as they need to make mistakes and get help and fix those mistakes and move on. And I think that's the part of the secret sauce that we're about to hear.
Thank you, Dennis. So next up, we're going to talk about using your LMS and LabSim to engage students. And what we see here is a graphical image of the secret sauce. It includes these 6 components, which are related to the LMS, to Blackboard. Boot camp orientation, day 1, extremely important to let the students know what they're in for. I treat it like a boot camp, and also like a game. It's a competition. Can you be good enough to pass this Linux Pro Cert during the final? You know? And so what that does, I think, is it kind of hooks their gaming instincts. And then we follow that out. I'm going to show you a video of a game show and tell in a little bit. Weekly pre-work announcements. Communicate every week to your students. This is what I expect you to do. This is when I expect you to have it done. I'm going to go into the grade book, which is paired with LabSim. I'm going to see whether or not you've done the labs and the practice questions. You know, I don't mind if you don't do the videos and the demonstrations, but I want to make sure that you have done the labs and the practice questions. Another important component of the secret sauce is the weekly learning journal process. So between the 3rd and the 4th bullets are the most important things in the secret sauce. The learning journal and the weekly game show and tell, where they use the learning journal in order to answer questions in front of the class and get extra credit points. The LMS send reminder emails in Blackboard, I use the feature where if I see a student hasn't done their labs and their practice questions that are due, I'll send them an email. They get 1 email for everything that's missing. I had one student that finally had to drop the class, but I was sending him like 23 emails because he was that far behind. So you're communicating with a student, and they're not surprised at the end that they failed the class, because you've been telling them all along. And then supplemental material. I'm not bashful about supplementing LabSim with other stuff that I find out on the internet. So in this class in particular, I added some information on shell configuration files. Also, since these are mostly Windows people that I'm training, Linux versus Windows storage and file systems. So, you know, how does an ext3 or 4 file differ from an NTFS or a FAT32 file? And then also in the area of IPv6 and IPv4. And I want to point out that this presentation features Blackboard as the LMS, but you can apply this anywhere. What you're going to see in the giveaway are files. They're in a hierarchical structure in OneDrive that looks like Blackboard. You know, it's got buttons like start here and announcements and all that stuff. So it mimics that, but the text itself is not, you don't have to have a Blackboard site in order to pull it down. You can upload, these are docx files, into your Blackboard or other LMS. Also, this is specific to Linux Pro, but the principles can apply to anything that you use with Test Pro in order to teach any other products. So day 1. Day 1's important. I've got 7 slides in my presentation on day 1 because it's that important. I tell them what their mission is. Their mission possible. How many here remember Mission Impossible? Raise your hands. Oh, great. Okay. Their mission possible is to earn their Linux Pro IT certification and their TestOut skills guarantee during the final exam, which is proctored, using as their only resource their weekly learning journal that they've been using all along in the weekly game show and tell. So then I build a case for why they should do it, tell them about the money that's available if they do so. We have wide-ranging discussions about what else do you need besides money in order to be happy in life and that kind of thing. I tell them about impressive growth that TestOut has had in the past 7 years since they introduced the pro certifications. 81,000 individuals are pro certified, 35 countries, 1,250 schools. And this one is especially important for non-credit. TestOut is approved in 16 states as an industry-recognized credential for IT. So, there's a lot of money for retraining the workforce available on the non-credit side. And, just like they have credentials for welding and painting and millwright and everything else, well, for IT, it's TestOut. Also, besides potential salary, why would you earn Linux Pro with a skills guarantee? Well, first of all, skills guarantees are not available from any of the other vendors. Nobody, no Cisco, no Microsoft, no CompTIA, no Oracle, nobody has stepped up and said that the people who hold my cert can perform based on the objectives on my exam. And they don't put any time limit on it. And it's my understanding that the skills guarantee has been around for a few years now. And last time I checked, no employers had asked for the $1,000 back or the $500 back in the case of a part-time employee. This is huge as it relates to your marketability. So that's one reason to do this, isn't it? Why, sure. Improves your marketability. I'm going to ask Dennis to talk about one of his students, Michael D'Aloia, who used his certifications to drive his performance review at his employer.
Yeah, I had a student who went to work at MCPC. He was a huge employer in Cleveland. And he took a spreadsheet and he put down every cert that he earned. And then he walked into his job interview and he drove the job interview. Or rather his employee review at the end of the year. And he said, this is what I did, this is when, and so on and so forth. And they were so impressed, he maxed out his thing. He's moved on to another job now. His career is just zooming. And it's because he's engaged. He's driving this with these certs.
So the skills guarantee and the certs improve your marketability. Actually, we've got another success story that just happened. We have a student from West Africa, Ghana. His name is Ibrahim Saki, and he's the president of our IT Career Advancement Club. And this is one overachieving student. Last year he earned, let's see if I can tick them off, PC Pro, A+, Network Pro, Network Plus, Client Pro, Windows 10 MCP, MCSA, and so he got a summer internship naturally with those kind of certifications. And he also applied to a full-time job at Tri-C, which he recently got as a technician. So he's a student, and he's going to be going back in the fall as a IT support technician within Tri-C itself. So it's a great success story. And he's also made a wonderful testimonial video, which I don't have time to show you today, but I'll share that information with you so that you can watch it. So the pro certs and skills guarantees never expire. So it's really a lifetime achievement, isn't it? How many of you have a bachelor's degree? Mm-hmm. Does your college require you to recertify every 3 years to say that you've got a bachelor's degree? No, that's silly, isn't it? It's almost like it's designed to generate revenue or something on the part of the testing industry. So it's a lifetime achievement. You don't have to worry about updating it. Continuing on day one, we have the LabSim grade report paired with the LMS Full Grade Center. Now, this is huge. This is also very important as part of the secret sauce. And it's so important that I'm going to ask you to repeat it after me. LabSim grade report paired with full LMS grade center. Well, thank you for following me, because I said full LMS, but that's at LMS full. Yeah, very important. What this means is that LabSim scores on labs, practice questions, and custom exams that you decide to give your students are synced with the LMS Full Grade Center. So, students are always aware of their progress toward a letter grade without having to ask you as the instructor. What this means, I remember back when they were not paired, there was a lot more work for me as an instructor to respond to a question as to what's my grade. And it was also a disservice to students because it deprived them from easily checking their grade on demand, anytime, anywhere. We want our students to be involved, engaged, excited. Well, they ought to be able to go and see what their grade is at any point in time, right? So pairing the grade book is a giant leap forward in being able to do that. The TestOut implementation team will show you how to pair LabSim with your LMS gradebook. Do we have anybody from the implementation team here? that was a great, right on cue. What's your name? Zach. Okay, Zach from the implementation team. What you'll do is contact your account executive or account representative and ask them to put you in touch with the implementation team. I worked with Seth Palmer of the implementation team last summer extensively, and it was a great experience in getting it implemented at Tri-C. Okay, so another thing we do on the first day of class is join the LabSim class. They run LabSim, which can be done through Blackboard button for course content LabSim, or you can go directly in through TestOut.com. The grades will still be paired in any case. I demonstrate LabSim to them, the neat features like speeding up the videos, looking at the interactive script, clicking on the interactive script to fast forward and everything. All the solid instructional design technology that has been implemented by TestOut so that they can do their first assignment. Then I assign lesson week 1. So here's lesson week 1. This is in the form of an announcement that I will send to them after the first class, but we also go through it. Notice about halfway down here that I'm having them complete LabSim section 0 and half of section 1. And I want them to do video lectures, demos, labs, fact sheets, practice questions. Pay attention to the practice question explanations. They're excellent in terms of learning about the topic because they go beyond just telling you what the right answer was. And then they're to submit a weekly journal of their learning notes for the game show and tell, and also for them to use during finals week when they sit for the Linux Pro exam. So we finished day 1, and now the weekly pre-work, I do flipped learning. And the way that I do it is I assign things for them to do. As you can see here, you need to do it by Tuesday evening at 11:59 p.m. because class is on Wednesday. Which LabSim sections to complete. This is the supplemental material that I gave them for the configuration files. Submit their weekly learning journal of notes. It's worth 10 points per week for 15 weeks, 150 points total. So by Tuesday evening, you should have submitted 2 weekly entries worth 10 points for a total of 20 points. Post to the discussion board, best practices for retaining knowledge. How do I remember all this stuff? 5+ points. And then some other boilerplate stuff at the end. Here comes the journal. On the left side of the slide, there's an FAQ, which I make part of the Blackboard site. How do I post an entry to my weekly learning journal? On the right side is an example of one of my students. This is one of the students that got the perfect score. Does anybody recognize this? It's a fact sheet, isn't it? Yeah, but look at this. It's highlighted. How did he do that? Well, he went into the fact sheet. There's a button in the upper left corner that says copy. Copied it on the clipboard, pasted it into Word. It got everything except this, but you copied that over, keeping the source formatting, and lo and behold, here's the heading. This is just the title of his journal, which he also put in. And he repeated this for every section that was assigned that week. So what he's building is his journal. You know, he doesn't have to do a lot of writing. He has to do a lot of highlighting. If he wants to add notes, he can, you know, because it's Word, right? You can do anything with Word, modify it. What he ends up with is a 262-page document in Word that's modifiable and searchable. So when he gets a question on the Linux exam about user quotas, you know, if he's a little fuzzy on it, he can just search his journal and he can find it. Not only that, the journal has a navigation pane open on the left side. You can see the different sections. It's like a table of contents. Next, weekly game show and tell activity. Okay, this does not have audio because I'm going to talk over it and explain what's going on. This is Tim Seibel. I think he got a 94% on his certification exam. And what he's doing is he's answering this question in the Linux Pro Certification Practice Exam, question 12. So Sam Chan has reached his user quota limit. Rather than delete some of his files, he wants to make more space, etc. So what Tim's doing in front of the class, he's now at my instructor podium. He volunteered to be there. He's now showing the class how it's done. But he may not necessarily be able to do it as a solo effort. So he's getting help from the other students in the class, which I encourage because it breaks down the boundaries between the students, the silos. Also, it's going to reinforce the right answer for the whole class as he's going through. So, you know, he started over a couple different times. Finally, somebody told him that he needed the U option and ED quota in order to be able to update the quota rather than just display it. And so now he's in the process of updating the quota. And, you know, it goes on from there. Other things that I use, send reminders for late work. Talked about that. Supplemental material, tips for certification and exam prep, free practice exams. And then the startup of LTUG, you can read what's there, the purpose and the mission, etc. We have a monthly meeting. We send out invitations by Outlook calendar. And then we have an LTUG share, which is like a SharePoint site where we keep copies of the e-copy of the agenda, minutes, and action items for the meetings. Some of the achievements: pairing LabSim with Blackboard. The Full Grade Center last summer created a pairing FAQ, which is down here on the displayed, and it's also in your notes. And we successfully paired 3 Blackboard sites in fall of 18 and 8 Blackboard sites in the spring. Created ITCAC, the student club. Our project's marketing enrollment with student testimonial videos, an electronic wall of fame on high-res monitors throughout the college for IT certified students and alumni. Guest speakers from the faculty on IT careers and programs of study. College Credit Plus outreach with the assistant dean, and probably most important, LTUG, ITCAC joint pizza parties. You got to eat, right? We also do issues and answers, FAQs, and quick reference guides stored in the LTUG share. ITCAC, same kind of format as LTUG. We've done classroom visits. This summer we're doing a Security Plus study buddy group, and we have an ITCAC share, which is in slack.com. They've done testimonial videos focused on recruiting new members. Okay, so the unofficial conference giveaway is is the secret sauce. It is packaged in a Blackboard Learn 9.1 course site with all the items and folders in OneDrive as Word 365 documents for uploading into your LMS. This is a Creative Commons license, so as long as you give attribution back to me as the source of the intellectual property, you can modify it, you can do whatever you want with it, you can make a commercial product out of it, anything you want to do with it. This presentation and also the files that are stored in OneDrive, I want you to be able to use it and innovate and feed back to me how I can improve it, and we as a community can learn from it. This just shows some of the directories in OneDrive. So, at this point, do you have any questions?
So we have some microphones just coming around if you have any questions. We have our first question here.
So I'm curious to know, in your area, sir, over here?
Yes, Johnny?
Yes, sir. In your area, what industries do you feed in your area? For instance, what companies might be are your students getting jobs at? So
okay.
I'd like to know that. Also, I'd like to know how you've been able to let local recruiters see the TestOut certifications as with their true value. So did you do any work in that, letting that, because again, TestOut certifications, as wonderful as they are still, the challenge is being recognized by recruiters and by companies as being validated in many ways. I love them, but again, getting industry-wide to love them is another subject. So I'm curious to know if you did any lead work for that, and that's my two questions.
Okay, those are both excellent questions, Johnny. We serve big companies, small companies, medium size, anybody that's in our community basically. We have like Progressive Insurance, KeyBank, they have their headquarters in Cleveland. Eaton Corporation is headquartered there. So it's a mix, and we also are we serve the underserved community in getting people who traditionally have been underserved by education getting into careers. That's what really drives me personally, and a lot of our faculty is one hand up, one hand down, helping somebody else up. And the second question, we have not really done that kind of outreach, so we'd be interested in knowing what you do and other people do. Maybe that's something that we could have as a topic for an LTUG meeting. We do have access to recruiters. We have an advisory committee which consists of a lot of the movers and shakers, companies in IT in the community, and they help us keep the curriculum current. And there's a pathway there for our students to become employed through them. That would be an avenue, but also just the headhunters, letting the headhunters know some of the impressive growth statistics, and also the fact that like Strayer University now, you can teach there, if you have either an A+ or a PC Pro, a Network Plus or a Network Pro, either or, that's an equal credential in the mind of Strayer University. So it's starting to happen. Thank you. Okay.
Have you ever taught this course in a fully online
environment?
Yes, and yes, what
no,
I
haven't. I'm just saying.
I was going to ask what kind of modifications you made.
Yeah, actually, I'm going to be doing that this fall. So I'll be teaching 3 Linux sections, and 2 of them will be blended, and 1 of them is going to be online. So your question probably is, how do you do a game show and tell with an online class, right? We're going to try and do it in WebEx, because that's how we do all our meetings. All of our LTUG and ITCAC meetings are in WebEx, so we're going to try and do it for the online class.
Just one comment. One problem that we experience, now we use Canvas as our LMS, but you mentioned that they can log in through TestOut and it will still update, only if they use the same email address that's used in Canvas. Our school requires that the only email they can use is the school email when they're in Canvas.
Okay.
And so if they go through TestOut with a different email, they won't sync anymore.
Okay,
And
that's
you have
good to know.
contact TestOut to have them merge the email addresses if the students ever tell you that the scores aren't showing up.
Okay, that's
So
good
it's
to know.
just something to be aware
Yeah.
of.
When we initially paired, we stipulated that you have to go through Blackboard content button to get to LabSim, because otherwise it wouldn't be paired. And then one of our instructors reported back that no, that's not the case, at least in our Blackboard. It was, students were actually doing things in TestOut.com, and their scores were getting paired back to Blackboard somehow. You know, so that's why I updated the slide to say either or, but like with Canvas, it looks like it's only through Canvas, should you log in.
As long as they have the same email address,
Oh, okay, it's based on the email address. Okay.
address that syncs it to your class.
Okay.
That's the only problem we ran into. They used a different email when they went through TestOut to log in
Okay.
versus our links that use their school email.
Oh, well, that explains a lot to know that. So it's the email address in LabSim that's important in terms of pairing it with the LMS. Got it. Thank you for that.
So everything was accurate. One thing with Blackboard, though, is the grades are pulled automatically. Canvas, though, you have to hit the grade sync button. I believe that we're hoping to have a feature out there for Canvas in the future that'll pull it over automatic, but right now there's that manual grade sync.
Does it sync with other systems besides Blackboard and Canvas? What other systems does it sync with?
Okay, that's probably a Zach question.
Oh, sorry.
Question was, does it sync with others besides Blackboard and
So Canvas, Blackboard, and Brightspace are our three probably premier integrations. We also can sync with anything that's LTI compliant, 1.0, 1.1. So Schoology, Moodle, PowerSchool, we can sync with those also. It's just not quite as good of an integration as those first three that I listed.
Incidentally, one thing that I found out a couple weeks ago when I was in a training seminar at Tri-C is that we're migrating from on-premises to the cloud with Amazon Web Services. We're Blackboard 9.1 Learn. And I found out, much to my chagrin, that building blocks are going away. And my pairing is using building blocks. I've used LTI when we first started a pair, and you had to make sure you did the submit score, you know, the student had to submit score in order for it to sync and things like that, and building blocks was so much better. So I did get a reprieve until the end of the fall semester, but that might be something that you would want to ask about if you're anticipating going to the cloud with Blackboard.
Hey, how you
David?
doing? So how do you encourage your students to like download a flavor of Linux and start trying them themselves?
Oh, okay, yeah, you probably saw in the first class, create a Fedora USB stick. Well, what I tell them is, you know, the simulator's great. You'll use it most of the time for what you need to do. But if you ever have a question as to whether or not the simulator is actually working, if you put your USB stick in and execute the same command, you can see if there's a bug in the simulator, right? Why should you beat your head against the wall with something that doesn't work, you know? Now, that's not to say that we have that happen very often, because LabSim has such wonderful simulators, and they're robust and they work and everything else. But just to take it, you know, one step further, if you want to play with it and have your changes persist, then, you know, get the USB stick and do it that way. Okay, I think it's lunchtime. Thank you. Thank you.